Hello everybody, this is Pastor Green. We're doing another Bible study, 2 Kings chapter 23. If you'd like me to come speak at your church, or if you have any questions, you can email me at godsohman@gmail.com, or you can just comment below. Now in this chapter, we're going to see what a really good king, he made a really bad mistake. 2 Kings 23 verse 1. And the king sent, and they gathered into all the elders of Judah and of Jerusalem. And the king went up to the house of the Lord, and all the men of Judah and all the inhabitants of Jerusalem with him, and the priests and the prophets and all the people, both small and great. And he read in the ears all the words of the book of the covenant which was found in the house of the Lord. So if you look at this chart here, we have Josiah, and he was a good king. In fact, he was a really good king. But he ended up making a really bad mistake in this chapter. The king stood by a pillar and made a covenant before the Lord to walk after the Lord and to keep his commandments and his testimonies and his statutes with all the heart and their soul, to perform the words of this covenant that were written in the book. Also the people stood to the covenant. And the king commanded Hilkiah, the high priest, and the priests of the second order, and the keepers of the door, to bring forth out of the temple of the Lord all the vessels that were made for Baal, and for the grove, and for the host of heavens, and he burnt them without Jerusalem in the fields of Kidron, and carried the ashes up to the Bethel. So he's trying to do a really good thing. He's trying to get rid of all the Baal worshippers and all the temples and all the different idols to Baal, because that's what a good king would do. And he put down the idolatrous priests from the kings of Judah had ordained to burn incense in the high places of the cities of Judah and in the places round about Jerusalem. Then they also burnt incense into Baal, to the sun, to the moon, to the planets, to all the hosts of the heavens. And if you remember, God told all the people to worship him and him alone. And every time there was a bad king, they'd build these altars to different other gods. And anytime there was a good king, they tried the best they could to get rid of those idols and temples and things. And he brought out the grove from the house of the Lord within Jerusalem to the brook of Kidron, and burnt it in the brook of Kidron, and stamped it to powder, and cast the powder therefore in the graves of the children of the people. You can see here the Kidron Valley, and I got another picture later on that make a little more sense. But all throughout the Bible, you're going to see about this Kidron Valley. It's the valley between the temple and the Mount of Olives. And you can see here, you have the Temple Mount on the eastern hill, the Mount of Olives on the right-hand side, and the Kidron Valley right in the middle. Kidron Valley is pretty important in the Bible. And he broke down the houses of the Sodomites that were in the house of the Lord, where the women wore hangings for the grove. And he brought all the priests out of the cities of Judah and defiled the high places which the priests had burnt incense from Gebe to Beersheba, to break down the high places to the gates that were in the entry of the city gate of Joshua, the governors of the city, which were on the man's left hand of the gate of the city. Nevertheless, the priests of the high places came not to the altar of the Lord in Jerusalem, but they did eat unleavened bread among the brethren. And he defiled Topheth, which was in the valley of the children of Hinnom, and no man might make his son or daughters to pass through the fires of Molech. If you remember, Molech is also another name for Baal. What people would do is they'd bring babies to this idol. The babies would burn on fire, and that supposedly was supposed to help them with their harvest or fertility or whatever. Baal was also a pagan god, and almost all the kings that were good tried to get rid of all the Baal worships and all the Baal idols. It was really bad practice. And today we basically worship Baal by giving to Planned Parenthood, killing babies that are still in the womb. 2 Kings 23 and 11. He took away the horse that the king of Judah had given to the son at the entering into the house of the Lord by the chamber of Nathan-Melech, the chamberlain, which was in the suburbs, and burnt the chariots of the sun with fire. So the Bible Encyclopedia says chariots of the sun. It says the ancient Persians who worshipped the sun dedicated to that luminary certain horses and chariots, which, in allusion to the rapid course, they consecrated to him. The kings of Judah fell to this particular idolatry. In these chariots, the rabbins informed us, the kings and nobles rode when they rode forth to meet the morning sun. The idolatrous chariots of the sun were burnt in King Josiah. You can see here from BiblicalEncyclopedia.com. And if you look at any of these different relics, you'll see these chariots of the sun. And the altars that were on the top of the upper chamber of Ahaz, which the kings of Judah had had made, and the altars which Manasseh has made to the 2 counts of the house of the Lord, did the king beat down and break them down from thence, and cast the dust of them in the brook Kidron. And in the high place that were before Jerusalem, which were on the right hand of the Mount of Corruption, was Solomon the king of Israel had built to Ashtoreth, the abomination of the Ziliots, for Chemosh, the abomination of the Moabites, and for Malcolm, the abomination of the children of Ammon, did the king defile. And he broke into pieces the images, and cut down the groves, and filled the places with the bones of men. Moreover, the altar that was at Bethel, and the high places which Jeroboam the son of Nebat, who made Israel to sin, had made, both that altar and the high places that he broke down, and burnt the high places, and stamped it small to powder, and burnt the grove. And Josiah turned himself, and he spied the sepulchres that were in the mount, and took the bones out of the sepulchres, and burnt them to the altar, and polluted it according to the word of the Lord, which the man of God proclaimed, who proclaimed these words. And he said, "What title is that I see? That the men of the city told us that the sepulchre, the man of God, which came from Judah, had proclaimed these things that thou hast done against the altar of Bethel." And he said, "Let him alone, that no man move his bones." So they let his bones alone with the bones of the prophets that came out of Samaria. And all the house, also the high places that were in the city of Samaria, which the king of Israel had made to provoke the Lord to anger, Josiah took away, and did them according to all the acts that he had done in Bethel. And he slew all the priests of the high places that were up there upon the altar, and burnt men's bones upon them, and returned to Jerusalem. And the king commanded all the people, saying, "Keep the Passover unto the Lord your God, as it is written in the book of the covenant. Surely there was not holden such a Passover from the days of the judges that judged Israel, nor all the days of the kings of Israel, nor all the kings of Judah." But in the 18th year of King Josiah, wherein the Passover was holden to the Lord at Jerusalem, moreover the workers with familiar spirits, and the wizards, and the images, and the idols, and all the abominations that were spoiled in the land of Judah and Jerusalem, did Josiah put away, that he may perform in the words of the law which were written in the book of Hilkiah the priest, found in the house of the Lord. And like unto them were there no king before him that turned to the Lord with all of his heart, with all of his soul, and with all of his might, according to all the laws of Moses, neither after him arose any like him. Notwithstanding the Lord turned not from the fierceness of his great wrath, wherefore his anger had kindled against Judah, because of all the provocations that Manasseh had provided him withal. Now we're not going to see the story of what Josiah did in the 2nd Kings, but we're going to see it in Chronicles. And the Lord said, "We will remove Judah out of thy sight, as he has removed Israel, and will cast the city of Jerusalem which I have chosen, and the house of which said, My name shall be there." Now the rest of the acts of Josiah and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles, the kings of the Judah? So we're going to look at the book of Chronicles to see what he actually did. That was a horrible thing to do. In his days, Pharaoh-Nechoh, the king of Egypt, went against the king of Assyria to the river Euphrates. And the king Joash went against him, and he slew him at Megiddo when he had seen him. So this Pharaoh had an issue with Assyria, and for whatever reason, the king of Israel here, he decided that he wanted to fight against this king, which he shouldn't have done that, and we're going to see exactly what happened. So if you look here on the map, if Egypt is going to fight with Assyria, they're probably going to drive their army through, or at least near Israel, since there's a giant desert in the way. You can see here's Egypt, and here's Assyria. Well, if you look at the yellow areas, that's pretty much nice land, and the white area is the desert, and you're never going to lead an army through the desert because there's no water. Here's Israel, and there's the big desert right there. So he's going to come pretty much right next to Israel in order to get to Assyria, because there's no other way to get there except for going through the desert. Nobody would ever do that. And the king didn't want to deal with Israel. He wanted to go fight Assyria, and the king of Judah decided to fight against them. So if you look at 2 Chronicles 35, verse 20, it talks about this. It says, "After all this, when Josiah had prepared the temple, Necho, the king of Egypt, came up to fight against Carchemish by Euphrates. And Josiah went out against him." It says Josiah decided he was going to fight this king for whatever reason. But he sent ambassadors to him, saying, "What have I to do with thee, thou king of Judah? I come not against thee this day, but against the house whereof I have war. For God commanded me to make haste, forbear thee from meddling with God. Who is with me that can destroy thee not? The king of Egypt is like, what are you doing? God told me to go fight the Assyrians. You're getting in the way. I don't have any kind of problem with you. I just want to pass through with my army. Nevertheless, Josiah would not turn his face from him, but disguised himself that he might fight with him, and hearkened not unto the words of Necho from the mouth of God. And he came to fight in the valley of Megiddo. And the archer shot at King Josiah. And the king said to his servants, Have me away, for I am sore wounded. And his servants therefore took him out of that chariot, and put him in a second chariot that he had. And they brought him to Jerusalem, and he died. And he was buried in one of the sepulchres of his fathers. And all Judah and Jerusalem mourned for Josiah. And Jeremiah lamented for Josiah. And all the singing men and the singing women spoke of Josiah and their lamentations to this day, and made them an ordinance in Israel. And behold, they are written in the Lamentations. Now the rest of the acts of Josiah and his goodness, according to what he was written in the law of the Lord, and his deeds first and last, behold, they are written in the book of the kings, Israel and Judah. And we're reading the kings right now. So good King Josiah got involved in another king's business. That's a horrible mistake. Don't concern yourself with things that don't concern you. If it's not your business, don't make it your burden. I'm sorry, I didn't realize that you're an expert on my life and how I should live it. Please continue while I take notes. How I learned to mind my own business. I was walking past a mental hospital the other day, and all the patients were shouting 13, 13, 13. The fence was too high to see over, but I saw a little gap in the plank, so I looked through it to see what was going on. And some idiot poked me in the eye with a stick, and they all started shouting 14, 14, 14. Some people's job in life is to spy on everybody else. Mind your own business. Mind your own business. There's 4 fingers pointing back at you. This doesn't concern you. Just walk away. John 21 says, Then Peter, turning about, seeth the disciple whom Jesus loved following, which also leaned on his breast at supper. And he said, Lord, which is he that betrayeth thee? And Peter seeing him, saying to Jesus, Lord, and what shall this man do? And Jesus said unto him, If I will that he tarry till I come, what is that to thee? Follow thou me. Jesus is telling this guy, it's none of your business what's going on. Just mind your own business, do your own thing, and don't worry about him. Basically, he said, mind your own business, Peter. There are 2 reasons why people don't mind their own business. Number 1, they have no mind, and number 2, they have no business. This is what happens when you put your nose in other people's business. This little elephant got attacked by a crocodile. Most animals with long noses look sort of odd to us, but it's also the same way with people who have big noses who poke them into your business. Look at this guy's nose. That's a little cute mouse's nose. Little fish's nose. 1 Thessalonians 4 says, And that ye that study quietly, and do your own business, and to work with your own hands, as we commanded you. Another guy with a big nose. Look at that guy's nose. That's a really funny looking fish. Look at that one right there. That little bat's nose. And that's the nose that causes the most trouble on earth. And of course she's talking about the little witch over there. People always want to eavesdrop. What's going on over here? What's the neighbor doing? Minding your own business will seriously eliminate half the problems in your life. Mind your own business challenge. I'll wait. Proverbs 26 says, He that passes by and meddleth with strife belongeth not to him. It is like one that taketh a dog by the ears. Can't you just mind your own business? Always wondering what the neighbor's doing. All throughout the Bible it talks about meddling. Don't get in other people's business. 1 Peter 4. But let none of you suffer as a murderer, or as a thief, or as an evildoer, or as a busybody in other men's matters. 1 Thessalonians says, And that ye study be quiet, and do your own business, and to work with your own hands, as I commanded you. 2 Thessalonians 3 says, For even when we are with you, he has commanded you first that any would not work, neither should not eat, For we hear that there are some which walk among you who disorderly, working not at all, but are also busybodies. Proverbs 26. Where no wood is, there the fire goeth out, and there that no tail body the strife saitheth. And the coals are like burning coals in the wood of fire, so is a contentious man to kindle strife. And the words of a talebearer, as the wounds, they will go down to the innermost parts of the belly. 1 Timothy 5 says, and withal they learn to be idle, wandering from house to house, and not only idle, but tattlers also, and busybodies, speaking things which they ought not. Exodus 20 says here, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. That means don't lie. Some people have an opinion on every subject and feel it's their calling in life to share it and tell everybody else how to do the job. This cat's giving me a headache. Will he ever shut up? Please go. Make the stupid people shut up. So put some tape on somebody's mouth. You need to shut up. Proverbs 27 says, he that blesses his friend with a loud voice, rises early in the morning, shall be counted as a curse unto him. A continuing dropping is very rainy day, and a contentious woman are alike. Whosoever hideth their wind, and the ointment of his right hand which betrayeth itself. Sometimes people's noses are so far in your business it goes right through your head. Back to 2 Kings 23:29. And in this day Pharaoh Necho, king of Egypt, went against the king of Assyria to the river Euphrates, and King Josiah went against him, and he slew him at Megiddo, where he had seen him. So Josiah should have never got involved in this, but he decided that he thought it was his business. And the servants carried him to a chariot dead from Megiddo, and brought him to Jerusalem, and buried him in his own sepulchre. And the people of the land took Jehoshaphat, the son of Josiah, and anointed him, and made him king in his father's stead. And if you look at the map here, Jehoahaz was a very bad king. And Jehoahaz was 20 and 3 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 3 months in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Hamutal, the daughter of Jeremiah the Lebanon. And he did what was evil in the sight of the Lord, according to all his father had done. It says here, Jehoahaz, the younger son, was first made king by the people of the land, probably because he was observed to be more active warlike genius than his other brother, and likely to make a head against the king of Egypt to avenge his father's death, which perhaps the people were more solicitous about, to the point of honor that keeping up with carrying on his father's reformation, the issue was accordingly. Matthew Henry says, he did ill, though he had a good education and a good example given him, and many a good prayer he may suppose put up for him. Yet he did evil in the sight of the Lord, and he is to be feared, beginning to do so in his father's lifetime. And for his reign was short, he could not, so that showed much his character. 2 Kings 23:33. And Pharaoh Necho put him in bands in Roblin, in the land of Hamath, that he might not reign in Jerusalem, and put a land to tribute 100 talents of silver and talents of gold. And Pharaoh Necho made Elkopham, the son of Jehoz, king of the room of Josiah his father, and turned his name to Jehoiakim, and took Jehoahaz away, and came to Egypt, and he died there. Good King Josiah, big mistake, not only cost him his life, but his people who were put under tribute, and his own kids went bad. You can see here that his other son king was bad. And Jehoiakim gave the silver and the gold to Pharaoh, but he taxed the land to give the money according to the commandments of Pharaoh, and he exacted the silver and the gold of the people of the land, and everyone according to his taxation, and gave it unto Pharaoh Necho. Jehoiakim was 20 and 5 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 11 years in Jerusalem, and his mother's name was Zebduah, the daughter of Pedra of Mermon. And he did what was evil in the sight of the Lord, according to all his father had did. It says here, Jerusalem saw not a good day after Josiah had laid in his grave, but one trouble came after another, to which in 22 years it was quite destroyed. Of the reign of the two of his sons here is a short account. The former we find here as a prisoner, and the latter a tributary to the king of Egypt, and in both so in the very beginning of their reign. The king of Egypt, having slain Josiah, thought he had not had any design upon Judah, yet being provoked by the opposition which Josiah gave him, Now he should see and may bet all the forces against the family of the kingdom. If Josiah's sons had trodden in his footsteps, they would have feared the better of his pity, but devastating from them, they feared the worst of his rashness. That's the Matthew Henry commentary. 1 Peter 4 says, "But let none of you suffer as a murderer, or as a thief, or as an evildoer, or as a busybody in other people's matters." 1 Thessalonians 4 says, "And he that studied to be quiet, and to do your own business, and to work with your own hands, as we will command you." Well, guys, that's the video. I appreciate you guys watching. If you have any questions, you can just let me know by commenting below, or you can send me an email. Make sure you subscribe, like, share. What do you guys think about the story? Comment below. Do you think that Josiah should have messed with the king of Egypt, or you think he should just let him go through his land and have peace? I don't know. It's up to you guys. Go ahead and comment that for me. On the right-hand side of the screen, I'm going to put the 2 Kings Bible Study. The left-hand side of the screen, I'm going to put the 1 Kings Bible Study. And then on the bottom left is going to be a video YouTube thinks you're going to like. Appreciate you guys watching. I'll see you in the next video.